In this video, I'm going over 5 automations that run quietly in the background every day in my home setup. They are not flashy automations, they are practical ones that actually make a difference once you have them running. We'll cover update notifications, low battery alerts, a phone charging indicator, a doorbell motion fix, and adaptive lighting. Let's get into it. The first one is the available updates notification. This is a must-have if you want to stay on top of updates for Home Assistant, apps, and integrations. Here's how it works. The automation runs every morning at 9:30 a.m. It has a template condition that checks all entities under the update domain. If any updates are available, it sends you a notification. For the notification itself, the message body includes a code snippet that lists every entity with a pending update. The title shows the total number of updates waiting, so at a glance, you know exactly what needs attention. I also set it up so that tapping the notification opens the Home Assistant app directly on the updates page. That way you can review and run updates right from your phone. Under the data section, I added the URL to navigate straight to the page. I also added a group name to keep related notifications together. The group option is not strictly necessary here since the automation only runs once a day. But if you ever change it to run more often, having that group action in place keeps your notifications clean and organized. Next is the low battery alert. This one is something everyone should have running. When you have a lot of battery-powered devices in Home Assistant, it is easy to lose track of them, sensors especially. You set them up, they do their job, and you forget about them. Then one day you check and the battery has been dead for who knows how long. That happened to me several times before I set this up. Now, when any device drops below 20%, I get a notification that tells me exactly which device needs attention. The automation runs every day at 10 a.m. In the action section, I define a variable called low batteries. The code in that variable loops through all the battery devices, filters out anything not reporting a real number like unavailable or unknown, and builds a list of every device sitting below 20%. I also have a line that excludes one of my air purifiers because it reports filter life as a battery attribute. The final output is a single formatting string, one device per line, ready to drop into a notification. I also added a line that truncates the content to 252 characters and adds an ellipsis if the list is long. So if you have a lot of devices to catch up on, you will see the ellipsis at the end, letting you know that there's more to the list. The next action is a condition that checks whether the low batteries variable contains at least one item. This is important. Without it, the automation will still fire and send you an empty notification on days when everything is fine. With the condition in place, if there's nothing below 20%, it simply stops and does nothing. The last action sends the notification. The message includes the low batteries variable, and I added a URL under the data section so that tapping the notification takes me straight to a page in Home Assistant where I keep a list of all my battery devices. Next is the phone charging light indicator. I saw a variation of this one on another channel and I built my own version with a few tweaks. My phone charger is on my desk right next to my Home Assistant voice PE. So when I connect my phone to the charger, the LED ring on the voice PE turns yellow. When I unplug it, the light turns off. When the battery hits 90%, the light turns green as a visual cue that it is at a good level and ready to unplug. And if I leave it connected all the way to 100%, the light turns off automatically. Now you could use the battery sensors in the Home Assistant companion app for this, but I find them unreliable, so I don't use them. The workaround I use instead is the Shortcuts app on iOS. It is rock solid. Here's how I set it up. First, I create a shortcut that checks whether the phone is connected to my home Wi-Fi network. This is important because we don't want the automation triggering at home if you're charging in the car or at some other place. If the phone is on the home network and is charging, the shortcut fires a charging event in Home Assistant. If the phone is disconnected from the charger or the battery is at 100%, it fires a not charging event instead. Then under automations in the Shortcuts app, I created a charger automation that runs immediately without asking for confirmation when the phone connects or disconnects from the charger. The action is set to run that shortcut. The second shortcut handles battery levels. It checks the current battery levels and runs an if statement. If the battery is between 90 and 99, it sends a battery 90 event to Home Assistant. Otherwise, it sends battery 100. For that one, I created two separate automations and shortcuts. One triggers when the battery goes over 90%, and the other triggers when it reaches 100%. Alright, so with the shortcut side done, here's how the Home Assistant automation is set up. I added 4 manual event triggers, one for each event name from the shortcuts. Each trigger also has a trigger ID set to match the event name. For the actions, I use a choose action with 3 options. Option 1 triggers when the phone is charging and turns the LED ring yellow. Option 2 triggers when the phone is disconnected or at 100%, and it runs 2 actions. It resets the LED to my default color and it turns it off. Option 3 triggers at 90% and turns the LED green. Once it is set up, it just runs, you connect your phone, and the light does its thing. If you're finding this useful, subscribing helps me make more of this. Next is the no doorbell motion alert when the front door is open. If you have a doorbell camera, you have probably had this happen. You walk out of your front door, your phone buzzes with a motion alert, and it's just you. You caused it. That notification is not useful. This automation handles that by disabling doorbell motion detection when you're walking out, but only when walking out, not when walking in. Here's how it works. The automation triggers when the front door is open, but before it does anything, it runs an if statement with a template condition that checks when motion was last detected on the doorbell. If motion was detected in the last 30 seconds, the automation does nothing. That covers the scenario when you're walking in. The doorbell sees you approaching, motion is detected, you open the door, and the motion detection stays active. If no motion was detected in the last 30 seconds and the door opens, that means someone is walking out. The automation disables motion detection on the doorbell, then waits 3 minutes and turns motion detection back on. Once you set this up, you pretty much forget it's there, it just works. The last one is the adaptive lighting automation. Most of us set up a lighting automation early on when building a smart home. This version adjusts brightness and color temperature based on the time of day. Here's how I have mine set up. During the day, lights turn on at 100% brightness with a daylight color temperature. In the early evening, after sunset, they turn on at 80% brightness with a soft white temperature. Later at night, the brightness drops to 35% and keeps the soft white temperature. To make this work cleanly, I started by creating a script that holds the sequence of actions. I find it useful to separate the logic into a script when the action sequence is long or when you might want to reuse it on another automation. It also makes edits easier without touching the automation itself. The script uses a choose action with 3 options. Option 1 uses a sun condition set to after sunrise and before sunset. When that condition is met, it turns the lights on at 100% brightness and the color temperature to 5000 Kelvin. I set the transition to 1 second for a smooth change. Option 2 uses 2 conditions, after sunset and before 10:30 p.m. When both are met, the light goes to 80% brightness and the color temperature to 4000 Kelvin, also with a 1 second transition. Option 3 uses the time condition set to after 30 p.m. and before 5 a.m. When this is met, it sets the brightness to 35% and keeps the color temperature at 4000 Kelvin. Now the automation itself is straightforward. It triggers when the light state changes from off to on, then runs the adaptive lighting script. I use the light state as the trigger because the light can be turned on through Home Assistant or a physical button. Using the state as the trigger covers both. But what about when the light is already on and the time of day changes? For that, I created a second automation. The one moment that matters most for me was the transition right after sunset. This second automation uses the sun trigger set to sunset. It has a state condition to confirm the light is already on. Then because I didn't want the brightness jumping up if I already had the light set to a lower value, I added an if statement that checks whether the current brightness is above 80%. If it is, it adjusts the light to 80% brightness and the color temperature to 4000 Kelvin with a 10-second transition, which keeps the change gradual and easy to miss. Those are 5 automations that run in my setup every day without me thinking about them. If you want to go deeper on any of this, I'll link a blog post below with the full configurations. See you next time.